Good night, viewers, and welcome to this another program of Advancing the Cause. This program comes to you every Wednesday night from 18:30 hours to 20 hours. The official host of this program is the Honorable Coretta McDonald, AA, MP, and President of the Guyana Teachers Union. Because of duties of national interest that Comrade McDonald is involved in, it is difficult for her to be here on this program tonight, and therefore I want to tender an apology for her absence. My name is Dennis Jaikran, and I will be hosting the program for you tonight. As we would have said on this program time and again, that all our topics are derived from discussions, suggestions, and discourse, so to speak, with viewers and other persons, agencies, organizations, ministries, and regions. And we want to applaud all those who would have allowed us via the information sent to this program to so cause us to derive the particular topics throughout our presentations. And so tonight, based on an agreed position with our viewers, we would have agreed that the program tonight and the circumstances therein would have caused us to come up with this topic, departing from the norm. And so as we advance our discourse on this program, we are going to deal with 6 issues. We are going to deal briefly with the Auditor General's report. We are going to deal with some education matters. We are going to deal with the matter that we have been dealing with and to know hearing of those in authority, the old age pension book distribution. We are going to deal with some GTU matters. We are going to deal with another matter that would have been on this program for a very long time, would not have received the hearing, so to speak, of those in authority. And then the last area we are going to touch on is some general issues. And so let us now deal with recently the Auditor General would have presented the Auditor General's report to the National Assembly. And so upon receiving that report, meaning the National Assembly, this program was fortunate in a very true sense to have some idea as to what are the things stated there. And so this program would have been making mention over a long period of time as to some of the missing factors in the Auditor General's report. And we are saying on this program, missing factors, because during the, and we must make this comparison, during the period of the collation, the Office of the Auditor General would have been so proactive. And 2 weeks ago, this program made mention of what an officer of the Office of the Auditor General, particularly from the engineering section of the Auditor General's office, could have seen deep down 20 feet that there was a 6-inch damaged pile that was driven there. This program is saying that for emphasis and for our viewers to better understand how detailed and minute they were in relation to examining all records as it relates to the period of the collation. And so these things that this program is now going to mention are things that were very topical during the period of the collation. But it is now conveniently missing from the Auditor General's report. Maybe this is for convenience, and maybe you can suggest, maybe this program can suggest, it is for the purpose of covering up issues of national concern. Much to the dissatisfaction of taxpayers of this country who pay the office or the staff of the Office of the Auditor General to perform state duties and to perform duties on behalf of taxpayers of this country. So let us turn our attention to some of the things that were so topical and are now missing from the Auditor General's report. You see, an important element in any budget agency, meaning regional administrations and ministries and other budget agencies, there is always an important element you call advances. And so advances are so taken to conduct a number of business within these budget agencies. But these advances are to be repaid within a specific time. And this program is very well informed that there is no mention of outstanding advances in these budget agencies. This is an infraction. This is covering up an issue where monies from the Treasury in some form or as appropriated by the National Assembly or other fundings that are available, that these advances are taken from. And once these advances are taken and are not repaid at the time of auditing, there must be made mention of in the Auditor General's report. And so this program wishes to point out that infraction. You were so proactive during the period of the collation, but you would have reduced your activism, not wanting to or missing. In your report, the Auditor General's report, outstanding advances by public officers. Maybe on overseas visits, maybe for the purchase of vehicles, duty-free vehicles, maybe for internal traveling and subsistence within the country, maybe for the conduct of activities as so planned by the particular agency. Regardless of the circumstances, this program is saying to the Office of the Auditor General that that is an infraction. And the public is now aware, taxpayers are aware, that your monies are not properly accounted for. The second thing that would have been very, very topical during the period of the collation, as it relates to the Auditor General's report, would have been the occupancy of government quarters. And so let us program quickly differentiate and define. In the public service rules, it is clearly stated that the head of a budget agency, a PS, or an REO would be able, based on a number of considerations, what categories of public officers are entitled for government quarters. Mind you, in some cases, there are categories of government officers who are entitled to rent-free government quarters. On the other hand, once there is that consideration, if you are not entitled to, as a government officer or a person that is paid out of public treasury, taxpayers' money, as salaries, and there is need for that accommodation, there are two types. Type 1 is that you pay 10% of your salary for quarters that are not furnished. And for quarters that are furnished, there is a payment of 12% of your salary. That has not been stated, it has not been categorized. And this is also an indictment on the part of the report that was presented by the Office of the Auditor General. But don't miss the boat. Let this program so advise also that in very many cases, this program is very well aware of officers who are not entitled to government quarters and who are allowed to occupy government quarters do not pay any rental. This program would have also been informed and advised that these occupants of government quarters are privileged in that taxpayers of this country provide them the opportunity of paying their utility bills. Provide them the opportunity of allowing the compound in which these quarters are located for weeding and cleaning on a very regular basis, much to the expense of taxpayers of this country. You see, this program is making mention of these things because when these things, or this program would want to say that these things were all highlighted in the Auditor General's report, but it is absent, so to speak, at this stage. And so this program is calling on the viewers, the taxpayers, to so notify in your own way or in your form the Office of the Auditor General of that convenient missing link as it relates to auditing, and to include those aspects in the Auditor General's report. And let us touch one last point as it relates to what was not stated. Very many things were not stated here or highlighted. And so much funds would have been appropriated for both capital and recurrent expenditure, whether it be for buildings, roads, maintenance and construction of buildings, providing of goods and services, weeding and cleaning, rental of buildings. And so there has been no mention, or if any mention at all, about the process of award of contracts. And so once the coalition was in government, those who were fortunate to function as PSs, and some PSs came from a very long way, still there. Maybe they have their own luck of staying. None of the area, or apart from one, who could have been able to butter the bread properly and put the icing smoothly on the cake to remain there, reaping the fruits of the labor of taxpayers of this country. Apart from one of the RUs who is still there. And let me make mention, not adequately qualified. But let me don't go down that. Let us don't go down that line. But this program wants to emphasize that all these things were overlooked as it relates to the award of contract. Let me make mention of so. The Office of the Auditor General would have so interrogated those heads of budget agencies, and as I made mention, some still there, know how to butter the bread. Advertisement of contracts. They don't ask for that. They don't ask for tender board minutes. They don't ask for minutes of the evaluation committee. They don't ask for signed contracts. They don't ask for schedules that would provide an opportunity to monitor these contracts. And so these are things that are absent. And so it gives taxpayers of this country an opportunity to want to believe that monies spent from the treasury of this country, the people's money, taxpayers' money, state money, cannot be traced and properly accounted for. It is the hope of this program that when there is the formation of the new Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly of this country, whenever Parliament would have been convened, would so scrutinize and ask questions so that taxpayers can be happy about what is happening. And so let us turn our attention to the question of old age pension books. This has been a very sore point. And from the very beginning, this program would want to make mention of a former minister of social protection in the not the last administration, the coalition administration, made mention of what is known as double dipping in relation to old age pension. This program has never failed the taxpayers of this country, has never failed the state to bring it to the attention that there are shady business in relation to the distribution of old age pension books in this country. And if you recall that sometime last year or the year before, there was this problem of printing of excessive allegations, mind you, old age pension books. That is a matter for those in authority. But what this program is highlighting, as we would have done, as this program would have done over the years, over the months, so to speak, that during this period, when these old age pension books are to be distributed, they can only be distributed by a name attached to it. So let us trace it. If you are residing overseas and the regulation, the laws of this country say to you that you have to be resident in this country for so many months prior to, and maybe after the distribution, and that particular criterion was not met, then that is cause for concern. Let us summarize it to say it is tantamount to a criminal activity. And so, who are the persons involved? And this program would not fail to say that the Minister of Social Services, whatever you call that ministry, the permanent secretary, each and every office in each and every region of this country that are responsible for preparing that list of persons to receive old age pension books, and who very well know that these persons would not have fulfilled the requirements and enlisted them for that purpose must be made to account. And this program has no hesitation by saying that all those who would have been mentioned just now by office, not by name, should be held accountable for mismanagement of state funds, taxpayers' money, state money. It is not the money of the minister, whoever is responsible for that, or the permanent secretary, or the staff in the various regions. It is not their money. And they cannot decide what the law says. The law is clear about that. The only law that would override all of these laws would be the Constitution. And so this program at this stage is calling out the Accountant General, the Finance Secretary, the Auditor General, the Minister of Social Services, the Permanent Secretary Social Services, all the officers who are employed in the various regions and who are at the first level, so to speak, to prepare the list and to submit it for these books, must be held accountable criminally and must be charged and put before the courts because it is misuse of government funds. But how these people overseas would know this? There has to be an arrangement with these officers in the various regions contacting these persons, and maybe because they are coming from overseas, you would want to suggest that brown paper bags or something under the desk might be an arrangement. But this is the other thing. Now we close on this matter. The other thing is that how is it, although it is provided for, how is it they are still overseas having collected the books, but that voucher is encashed at the post office every month? This is another search for the office of the Auditor General. This is squandering of taxpayers' money. How long more do we, as taxpayers, continue to bear the burden of those who are not fulfilling the requirements to have old age pension books that taxpayers continue to pay them? Auditor General, you have work to do. Accountant General, you need to fix your preparation of payments. Finance Secretary, you are too busy trying to change, as every Auditor General report that would be presented in Parliament, we would fix this circular. Tell the public how many circulars you would have fixed. None. And so you sit upon and you are receiving taxpayers' money. So this program is highlighting these things because it is serious business for taxpayers. Let us move to education matters. And I noticed that recently, or rather this program is not personalized program would have recognized that in one of the dailies of September 23rd, 2025, the Guyana Chronicle, that the Regional Democratic Council and the Department of Education in Region 2 have defended their management of the school boat service along the St. John Charity route. And it says here, safety concerns prompted removal of St. John's Charity school boat. Region 2 Regional Education Officer assures safe, reliable school transportation. You see, the safety of any person in this country is not dependent on propaganda. It is not dependent on falsehood. Now let me make mention, because once upon a time, I served as a very successful regional education officer. And so I know exactly and I was then regional executive officer in another region. When the first set of school boats were handed to the people of the Pomeroon to transport their children from both Upper and Lower Pomeroon for Charity Secondary School. And so that came in the 3B program. It was then 3B, both buses and bicycles, and then it moved to 5Bs. But at that time, the boat was handed first to the Lower Pomeroon to transport the children from St. John's to Charity. Let me give this regional education officer, who was politically appointed sometime this year, or maybe in December last year, information. But don't run out and put in the newspaper to say about safety of our children. That was supposed to be it a long time ago. A long time ago. So this is no news to the public. It is misinformation. It is misleading. It is propaganda. And we would hope that this program, that when professional officers make comments, they scrutinize their own thoughts and bring out professionally what are the things ought to be brought out there professionally. The safety of every Guyanese. And I'm going to come later on to the waste of time. Chief labor officer in this country that would have had maybe the 5 years and then counting now, and has done nothing for the safety of the people of this country, whether at workplace, at school, or wherever. But we're going to come to that waste time or chief labor officer. So, Redo, you need to be very professional. Don't run out and paint the wrong picture. So we deal with that. Now, recently, as part of Education Month, which concluded yesterday, there would have been no hype of activities, whether at the national level or at the regional level. But the Department of Education quickly, I don't know that there is a new formation, that in these regions you have regional literacy units. Well, if that is so, then credit must go to them. But if you put out an invitation to the public inviting them to this literacy activity. And the region is region 2. You must be very, very clear in your mind what you want. Coloring and nicely colored and designed public advertisement is not the message, the content therein, the accuracy, the language, so to speak, is what is important. And again, this program would not fail to call out persons who are paid by taxpayers for their infraction. And so when I saw this program saw this thing, there was consultation with pupils of a particular primary school who are about to do the National Grade 6 assessment. Ask them the question. Department of Education, Region 2, Literacy Unit, invite you to our grand whatever. It is shameful because the child would have said, the Department of Education is a single unit. And it would have identified further, I'm saying the learner of a primary school, regional literacy unit is also singular. And so the word should have been invites you. And so this thing is so colorful. It is so colorful that even the bad language is colored. And we talk about what you call literacy. How are we training our learners? What are we telling our teachers in the system? When you are pitchforked into positions, you do not only color your propaganda, you color bad language, you color bad information, you color misinformation. And so you are of the opinion that you would have colored so much that is absolutely correct and right. Redo, it is absolutely wrong, so to speak. You know, recently, I moved to the third point on education. Teachers had a problem. Those who marked SBA. And it is still unfair to the teachers who mark SBA based on the situation. This program is told that payments are being made. I don't know, this program is not aware of the regions. But teachers would have called this program to say that payments would have commenced. And they were concerned that the payments that are made at this stage, if by chance there were 30 students, learners doing SBA in geography, and there were 2 teachers supervising these 30 learners, technically you are supposed, meaning the ministry is supposed to pay both teachers for 30 students. Because at some point, there would have been an overlap because this program spoke to a number of teachers. And once there would have been that overlap, it would necessitate the ministry to be able to pay because they say money is not a problem. because they have wasted money. If we want to quantify money, tons and tons of money as it relates to the mathematics program. But we're going to come to that later. And so the teachers are now concerned as they receive their payments. And as mentioned early on in the area of geography, just a scenario that once there would have been 30 students in a class, and these 30 students each would have done their SBAs, and these SBAs required marking and a score attached. They paid one teacher, or one teacher would have been paid for 15 and the other for 15. The contention of these teachers, and they would have asked this program to voice their opinion that there should be a review. That once they would have supervised collectively any class, that both teachers that supervise using the scenario of 30, both should be paid for 30 SBAs, not 15 and 15. Despite the fact 15 and 15 would still give you the 30, but it is unfair for the time spent by our teachers to mark 30 SBAs, whether by split or not, and be paid for 15. So this program would have been asked to, and we are now doing it as asked for. There are some serious situations. You know, Education Month is coming. Sorry, Teachers' Day. International Teachers' Day. This program would continue to make mention of exploitation of head teachers in this country. Those who exploit, not all. This program would have been advised that there's a particular head teacher of a nursery school in South Essequibo, for which head teacher would have been forcing, allegedly, parents, soliciting from contractors, consumers on the premises in which maybe this head teacher might be from time to time, whether it's personal or be there. And other patrons and supporters of this business, soliciting gifts and tokens for the head teacher and teachers of that particular nursery school for International Teachers' Day, which will be observed this year on Sunday, the 5th of October. It is always the 5th of October, but it is Sunday this year where 5th of October comes into play. This is an indictment, and this program is continuously asking for the regional administration, Region 2, for the Department of Education, to which it is alleged that there is this twinning of this particular head teacher and officers of the Department of Education, and where gifts and exchange of gifts and exchange of goodies at particular time of the year and in celebrating birthdays and events allegedly of these officers, once these goodies are there, things do not go the right way. This program, the parents, the contractors, and the patrons who would have made it known to this program is again calling on the Department of Education, the Regional Education Officer, Region 2, the REXO, Region 2, the Auditor General, the Accountant, all those in authority, to ensure you find the source, meaning that particular nursery school head teacher who is doing all of these infractions, committing all these infractions, and nothing is being done. This program has no duty to advise any authority of any particular school or head teacher. That is not the duty of this program. If you do your work as supervisors, you would be able to find out. And so that is now the duty of the Auditor General, Accountant General, Finance Secretary, REDO Region 2, REXO Region 2, the Auditor General, all as a collective, find out what is happening and correct this very serious infraction. You would recall that this program indicated that it was this same head teacher who was caught cheating while at training college. It was this same program that brought the attention of our viewers that maybe a sibling of that particular head teacher last year was caught cheating at CSEC at the Abramsville Secondary School, and the matter was covered down like the matter was covered down when that head teacher cheated in training college. These are infractions. How is it this education system would grow with honesty and sincerity? How is it that the Teaching Service Commission, the commissioner who it is alleged resides in this region, causing persons to be employed, and there's serious overstaffing in all regions of this country? And so those who are commissioners of the commission, the Teaching Service Commission, must also be held accountable. The head teachers of this school who recommend that there's a vacancy should be surcharged. The DO for the particular level must be surcharged. The REDO must be surcharged. You cannot want to surcharge the REXO of these regions because the REXO is performing other duties based on what is submitted to him or her. But you can surcharge the ACUs, the particular ACUs, and the DCU, and maybe the CEO. These are indictments. These are infractions in the education system. And so these things need to be looked upon. Let's program now turn its attention to what is known as a discrimination. Some time ago, a particular teacher, and this program does not remember at this stage what status that teacher had, but this program is very well aware. And this program wouldn't want to call the name of that teacher, but to say that this teacher was a graduate of the University of Guyana and would have been identified, whatever would have been the mechanism to perform the duties as head of center CPC Anna Regina branch. And so there came a time when there were serious discussions. While this person that was performing such duties was doing so very well, excellent, so to speak, but would have been forced to retrieve and to go back, to return to the school that this teacher came from. Let this program point out, let this program writer point out that that was a level of discrimination. The regional education officer of this region must bear responsibility for this discriminatory act. But you know, life is a cycle. And you reap the benefits and your rewards at the right time. And whatever plans, and this is not a preaching program, because I am not a preacher or a pastor, whatever comes your way in goodies at the best time in your life is a special blessing. And so those who try to discriminate against you are going to fail. And in this case, having discriminated against this teacher, having this teacher go back to the school that the teacher came from and now performing the duties as a teacher of another school, very well and very good. First, congratulations to this teacher. I have news. This program, rather, has news for all those who were part of the discriminatory act against this teacher. And this program is so advised and very well believes so, that this teacher would have been extracted from the list of candidates to be a member of parliament of this country. Those who were part of the discrimination, those who allowed lesser experienced person and who is not doing well at the time, now at the training college, the reward would have been granted at a higher level of service in this country to that teacher. The teacher would remain unnamed on this program for now until that teacher takes the oath of office, swearing in, so to speak, as a member of parliament. Having been extracted already from the list of candidates from the political party in which this teacher was a candidate. And this program, because of that level of discrimination, and because of this program feeling so happy about this teacher would have been discriminated and now been awarded at a higher level to offer sincere congratulations and best wishes. Redo, you are still where you are. Those who were part of it, you are still where you are. And the teacher would have climbed the ladder to being a member of parliament, extracted, awaiting for that oath of office, swearing in, so to speak. When that day would have come, if it is there to this program, then on the other program, this program is going to name that particular teacher that would have been discriminated. Congratulations, teacher, on fighting the battle and winning it at this stage. Head teachers and teachers, very many times I do not want to make mention that once upon a time I served as regional education officer. For the simple reason how I see the management of education now, starting from the CEO until the last officers, the DOs, there's nothing to celebrate in the education system. But before I come there, when the results of CSEC would have been announced, taxpayers of this country were told that shortly, or when the final results are out, those are preliminary results, then you would have, the taxpayers would have the matriculation rate. That has happened a long time, and there's no matriculation rate given to the people of this country. What is there to hide? You do not hide any statistics that would give you anything concerning education. It is the basis of statistics in any education system that would so advise, inform, and allow you to plan the way forward for greater success. If you hide statistics, you are sure to go deeper into not having the desired results. But that is just making mention of matriculation rate that they are hiding at the Ministry of Education. But let us, this program now deal with a particular situation in which some persons who are serving at the level of Assistant Chief Education Officer and Deputy Chief Education Officer were never heads of department, were never DOs, were never head teachers, were never cadet officers, and if they were on a very watered down course. The cadet officers would have been the only ones to be identified, would be the first batch of teacher cadets in this country, and maybe the host of this program might have been on the first batch, maybe. And maybe that same, the host of this program would have been the best graduating student. But like that teacher we made mention of, would have been discriminated against and not been mentioned here. But that is another story. And so these persons who are functioning there, they do not know their rightful function. Recently, a particular DCEO, maybe a retired person, and who would have been placed again as a DCO, but in another fashioned subject area, meaning subject not in school area, but the ministry subject area, to accommodate who are friends of who, went into a particular school on which the head teacher was assigned somewhere else to do business on behalf of the school. This particular DCO marched into that school and was doing staffing. Head teachers, this program is so advising that the only person that is authorized to do staffing in any school is the head teacher sitting with the senior staff and the other teachers. No DEO. Head teachers, listen to this program. Stand up. Don't let them do that. Ask them not to do it. No DU can do that. No REDO in any part of this country can do that. No ACU, no SCU, no DCU, no CU, because there's one. All those categories that I call here, they are total misfits. All of them are total misfits in this education system. And so they use the power of authority, not even knowing what they are appointed to do. And so once they do that, CEO, listen carefully, you would be held accountable because there's going to be no growth in the education system. You are not, and your officers would not be motivating our teachers and our head teachers to perform at maximum. And those head teachers that you would motivate to perform would be those who maybe are under the table business people or brown bag business people with you, or tokenism persons with you. So, head teachers, don't allow your DOs, your REDOs, your ACOs, SEOs, DCO, and even your CU, or none from the Teaching Service Commission, to come to your school and do staffing. That is not their duty. Let them know that. And head teachers, there is a desk manual at your level, the school level. There are 3 desk manuals, section 1, 2, and 3. One is the Central Ministry, the other one is Departments of Education, and one is directly for the schools. Get hold of all 3 of those and read them. And so you would know your duties. The CEO doesn't know those sections of those manuals. None of the DCOs. And they walk with the shoulder high. It was the same DO that went into the pub room last year or the year before. Went to St. John's School, the same school that this program spoke about, and was proud to hold a box of food coming out from Pomeroon, travel straight to Georgetown to show the Georgetown people the quality of food. This program wants to make it clear that the head teachers and the teachers of St. John's Primary School did not provide the materials, the ingredients for the meal. So the DCO, whoever you be, don't try to hype up yourself. You're a waste of time. And so head teachers take note of that. Let us now turn to our attention to GTU matters. But before we go there, let me say that the National Teachers Union, as part of International Teachers Day, which will be observed on Sunday, the 5th of October, the branches in Essequibo, under the guidance of the Regional Vice President Essequibo, General Council reps in the county of Essequibo, would have so decided that on this particular day to mark and observe International Teachers' Day would have planned a walkathon from Fairnought Park to the Anna Regina Park. This program would have been given a flyer which says that the assembly point is the Fairnought Park, and that teachers who are interested or this program would want to advise and encourage all our teachers to participate so that they can be part of International Teachers' Day activities, participating in this walkathon. Make it your duty, teachers in the different branches, to be part of this walkathon. At this stage, I want this program would wish to extend to all teachers happy International Teachers' Day. Wishing you all the best, good luck and success as you continue your path in a very professional way. There's another item that we are going to talk about that has to do with molestation of a particular child from a particular primary school in Georgetown District, Education District. These things don't hide. And head teachers who are anti-union, and teachers, you would soon come to realize that your union is going to be your salvation. At the school in which no name would be mentioned here, despite the fact this program might have in its possession the name of school and the name of head teacher, but by now the head teacher would know him or herself and the name of the school, but that is an indictment of whatever the situation might be on the part of the head teacher failing to report the matter. If parents so entrust their children in your care and you care less about not caring for them, then you are not discharging your administrative and professional duties as required. This program is urging that this particular situation be properly dealt with at every level so that there would be no reoccurrence of such situation, not only in this school, but in other schools. We are now going to turn our attention to what is known as failure of enforcement agencies in this country. This program is again going to call out the agencies. And this program is so advising that based on information received, that there are terrible situations in which you have unauthorized and illegal mechanical workshop in residential area causing noise, dust, and chemical pollution. EPA, let me say to the executive director and staff, you are all paid by taxpayers of this country and should not be selective should not be dormant in the performance of duties. Very many matters across regions of this country are not attended to. And the executive director and members of staff, just this program would want to say that you continue to receive taxpayers' money for wasting time, to be convenient in what you do. And every time there is traveling to go to any region, that brings more an excursion or a discovery at the expense of taxpayers in this country. And this situation is getting serious day by day across regions of this country, disturbing the peace of people. And once letters are sent, maybe on a weekly or monthly basis, to the executive director and staff, nothing is being done. First agency. The second agency is the Guyana Revenue Authority. Let this program tell you something about Guyana Revenue Authority. It is a compromised authority. But you know, once you are an employee of the state, you are bound and forced to, not forced, you are bound to have your GRA, whatever deductions you call it, income tax deductions, made before you receive your salaries. But are these officers that are paid by state funds, taxpayers of this country, are they as proactive as paid by the state to perform duties, doing what they are doing? The answer is a straight no. That agency, the officers in the different regions, are very unfair in their assessment of businesses in whatever form. And they're busy across this country granting registration to business owners not even seeking to do an environmental assessment. So you give permission or you register a company to do destructive business. It is a failure of the Commissioner General and the staff of GRA in the various regions. NIS is another failed agency. NIS is very convenient, the officers. They are very convenient in assessing persons in relation to paying NIS contributions, whether business or not. They are very unfair. But those who earn their salaries through public treasury are made to pay their exact NIS. But you lower that for big businesses. Why are these things happening? And this program would continue to highlight them. GPL. GPL has a section you call Loss Reduction Unit. That unit is allowing GPL to lose more than it is losing. Because this program is so advised and very well believed so, that when officers of this loss reduction unit would go to wherever there is this level of wastage in whatever form illegally, they compromised every single situation. They compromise these situations. And once you compromise these situations, there is going to be an expansion of the misuse, the abuse, and illegal connections. And there's going to come a time, but you run down the people in Sophia, you run down the people in Albaistom, but you allow these business places to so bypass and what have you. You don't pay attention to that. And so the loss reduction unit, they are lost in a very true sense as it relates to the performance of duties. And so this program is bringing it to the attention. Ministry of Labor. Early on, this program made mention of the waste time chief labor officer. Let the chief labor officer of this country point out one correction, one adjustment that unit would have caused to be made in any part of this country, in any region of this country. All of these workshops across this country. As you go, they are not equipped with personal protective gears. Nothing at all. And you see what you call health and safety officers, occupational health and safety officers. They are also a set of compromised people in this country, receiving taxpayers' money, receiving state funds, doing nothing. These are all indictments. And the people who are affected continue to be affected and nothing of it. But let us add to that. Are these same people who are in the various offices at the regional level, are they going to these business places to see the level of underpaying of salaries, the condition of work of these persons? They don't do that because maybe they are compromised under the table also. But the lives of people are at stake. The safety of people are at stake. The safety of workers are at stake. And those who are charged with the responsibility turn a blind eye on it. Let the facts speak for themselves of the number of workplace injuries that would have occurred during this year. Some are very sad. Persons would have lost their loved ones. Yet the Ministry of Labor, Occupational Health and Safety Department, they sit idly by. Compromised situation while people, their lives are lost. This is the situation. And then Guyana Fire Service, what they do is to just run in and run out. They fail to recognize, and they also give permission without realizing the danger or the fire to come. And when it happens, all you hear is electrical. These are all agencies that are responsible for things that can be corrected. but they are all compromised because of those who are part of the employ. And therefore, this program is bringing it to the attention of the viewers. So we move to some of the general issues now, and one would be the non-performance as reported to this program. Non-performance of retired persons in the public sector. And four rather, that this program would not make mention of. What is health? What is the engineering department? To the regional administration. They are underperforming in their duties, but because of what people say, bring and take and bring, keep them going there. Second point is that they are not allowing or qualify, and none of them, of the four, are qualified. That situation is starving our young qualified professionals from climbing the ladder, and they are becoming frustrated. There must be a system in place to curb that situation. You cannot have retired persons going back there, going late for work, not reporting for duty, sleeping on the job, because the evidence would have been sent to this program, and we very well believe that. These are things ought to be corrected. These are things. Now, misuse, we are closing at this stage, misuse of state vehicles in Region 2. This program would have been reliably informed that a particular superintendent of works, whose name would not have been supplied to this program, and for which complaint would have been made by drivers who have to be away from their homes long hours after the close of work, to allow and to permit this particular superintendent of works, very unqualified, not qualified, so to speak, at all for the position, because this program would have been told that this particular superintendent of works would have served or been appointed in the account section of the region. But because of the person knowing what is happening in the engineering department, where there are allegations that there is serious under the table business, choose to go there, and because of his affiliation would have been placed there. No qualification, and using state vehicles despite the fact he was granted a duty-free, again not entitled to duty-free, and using state vehicles to have fun as it relates to alcohol allegations to this program. And the drivers, or the particular driver, would have complained bitterly to those in authority but they are not doing anything. If by chance the drivers belong to any union, maybe the Guyana Public Service Union, they can make that known to the union so that the union can be able to advise on the way forward. But this program is bringing this to the attention of the regional executive officer of this region, Region 2, so that the misuse of state vehicle by this particular, as reported, particular superintendent of works, and who is allegedly misusing state vehicle for personal use, to have some investigations done. Viewers, I think for tonight, this program would have covered a number of areas, and the areas that we would have covered would have allowed us to better understand the challenges therein and how is it we move forward. Please continue, viewers, to send in to us rather, information that you think we can best use on this program to cause others to know, to hear, and to see in some way or the other. We want to thank you very much, to wish you a good night, and may God bless you. Thank you very much.